What did you like to do before dance? Like, what was your passion then?
Art, drawing.
Okay.
So cartoons, I've been drawing since I was 3. I had coloring books, I like to draw my own characters, and I started doing that. And growing up, I was known as the artist, like middle school, elementary school, high school. They're kind of opposite, but I want to do both. So.
But it does come together though in a way, because
Yeah,
it's all art. You know?
definitely, definitely.
Do you have any advice for young people of color who are also gay trying to make it in music?
Continue to be yourself. That's the first thing and foremost. Be yourself, be unique, be different. Don't let anyone judge you. Continue to be great at whatever you do.
I think when I was young and when I didn't have agency and when I didn't realize that I have agency over my own relationship with the larger world, whether that's the spiritual world, whether that's the physical world, I was always at odds. And I think that at the end of the day, you're always going to kind of be at odds, whether you're straight, gay, whatever.
When we first started, LGBT artists didn't like us, or LGBT people didn't like us.
I was telling my mom, it was just like, you know, even though I'm in the LGBT, community or whatever, like it hurts my feelings because people don't take the community as serious.
I'll say there's been some missed opportunities that I think if I was a different type of person, it would have, got me in the door.
Ty Kage, I'm saying that right, correctly?
Kage.
Tage?
Yes.
Tage. Perfect. That's the perfect last name. So how did that name come about? Like, is that your government? Like, did you name yourself that? How does one get such a cool name like that?
Well, thank you so much for that. But that is my actual name. Half Japanese, so it comes with the territory. But that's pretty much it. But later on in my life, it was changed to an American name, but I don't share that with anybody because I hate it. It's equivalent to like a slave name.
Oh, okay.
So I still go by Ty, and I always will.
Okay, gotcha. So you're always Kunta. I got you. Mm-hmm. So you're an artist.
Yes.
How did you? Because your drawings, and I followed you on Instagram for like a while now. You've even drawn me, and
I did. You need a new one, by the way.
Well, you're known for doing these amazing portraits of predominantly men of color from the LGBT community. How did that come about? Like, how did that start?
5 years ago on Facebook, I had this friend of mine named Eric Huff, who was my little bro. And I asked him, could I draw him? Because I'd always been into art when I was in school, and I just felt like I was out of practice. I haven't drawn anything in like years. So I asked him, could I draw him? I did. He loved it. Everybody else loved it. And from then it just took off. Everybody and their grandmother on Facebook was asking for me to draw a portrait of them. And at the time, most of my friends there were gay black men. So that just became my target demographic.
Perfect. So you mentioned you've loved art since growing up. How was that being the kid who was into art? Because I mean that's not necessarily the stereotypically manliest thing to be into. How was that?
It was hard. It was difficult, especially in my school, because my sister was very popular, so she was like the it girl. And then I came in and I'm her little brother, so they expected me to be the it boy. And I'm just like, nope. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I don't want to be in a crowd. I don't want to do sports. I want to go draw and watch anime and be with my outcast friends. And it was difficult, but I made a way because while I was in school, I found it the anime club to introduce my school to the Japanese culture, which spiraled into the Japanese Culture Club, which also tied into the art club, all of which I was very heavily involved in. So I made away with it even in those hard circumstances.
Nice. So that's really interesting, though, because you come from two different distinct cultural backgrounds.
Yeah.
So how was that when you really understood who you were and came to your own and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I like sexually? How was that being accepted from either community? Was one better than the other as far as like, understanding?
Well, as you culturally meaning the black and Japanese aspect of it, no, I didn't really have too many Asian friends or that side of the family because they were pretty much Americanized by that time. So
Gotcha.
I didn't really have to deal with backlash from my family. My coming out to my family was so easy, it's like embarrassing. Like when I tell people my story, I hear people tell their stories that they got put out and all these other things. I'm just like, I feel really bad because I didn't have to go through any of that. Like, it was easier once I did come out. But amongst my friends and within the school, when they found out, that's when it became harder. It was those people who didn't actually know me that gave me the most trouble for it.
Oh, how so?
Oh, strange. Well, as you can already tell, I'm really not the most masculine guy in the world. But
that's all subjective.
It can be, but in school, when I had to be the it boy, they kept trying to force me into that box, and I just refused it all the way up to my senior year. There were some people who tried to bully me, but they didn't know that I was trained in 6 different types of martial arts, so jokes on them. And there were some people who started rumors, and they would like write slurs in the bathroom and things like that. Typical mean boy stuff. But none of it fazed me because I didn't care. Because at the end of the day, I knew that I was smarter than them, so it didn't really bother me too much.
There you go. Now, since you mentioned it, I have to ask now, did you ever karate chop anybody in the throat?
I did.
Yeah.
I just did it out of the way of the cameras, so I never got caught. But
perfect.
Yes, I did.
Settled for less, a knockoff that blew your socks off, boosted replica. You went from high-end and expensive to a fabric made of the cheapest and second best print. Mathematician, no ruler could measure this. He would never weigh or amount to me, always on a smaller scale.
Hi.
Look at you, Mr. Rico Suave. The hat on.
Yeah, I wish. I'm exhausted.
I like that vest.
Thank you.
It looks like...
How are you? Good?
I'm great. Jesus, right?
Yes.
But you go by J International?
Correct.
Dope. Where did that name come from?
J International kind of is like an alter ego, I would say. I got the last name International from my sisters, Jasmine and Chanel International, who are showgirls in New York City. And Jay was kind of a short name for Jesus because people usually pronounce Jesus Jesus, and I'm not God. So I kind of had to shorten it up, and that's how my name came about.
Nice, nice. So you're a poet and recording artist.
Yes.
Now, you have J International. That's your Sasha Fierce. So I want to know, how did that come about as to, like, growing up? Did you always know that you wanted to do that?
Poetry you're speaking in reference to?
Yeah, poetry, recording, all that kind of good stuff. Spoken word.
Yes, growing up as a kid, I was really kind of an outcast, and I really didn't have many friends. I was always bullied and picked on. So I always had a notebook, and I would always write, and I would always write poetry. And it was never like the roses are red, violets are blue kind of thing, It was always some weird thing. But that's how my poetry came about, Anytime I was in a dark place in my life, I would go directly into my poetry, and it would kind of take me to a world where it was free of like danger and harm and, ridicule from what we see today.
Wow. And you're from New York City, correct?
Born and raised in New York City, correct.
Oh, wow. How was that? Because I know you mentioned bullying, so how was your upbringing?
Well, I was born in the 80s, and I was born in the South Bronx in New York City. Being born in a Latino, being born into poverty, it wasn't easy. You know, I was always different. I never really liked playing with the boys. I didn't like getting dirty. I always hung out with the girls. So those attributes kind of made me like stick out a lot in my community. And, you know, I would always be called a faggot and a sissy, and I was always picked on because of that.
Now, did that make it hard once you really did come to terms with, you know, hey, I'm different, this is who I am, and coming out?
Well, I guess I got to the point in my life where I just didn't care what anyone else said anymore. And I think from the bullying and the tormenting that I've experienced growing up as a kid, it kind of made me stronger and have that tough skin. And I just got to the point in my life, I actually came out graduation. I went to the prom with my ex-boyfriend. So it was like I got to the point in my life where I just didn't care anymore.
That's awesome. So I love your stuff. Like
Thank you.
The short bits that you put on Instagram, and then now with your full album, you know, His Innocent Voice. I want to know, who did you look up to growing up? Who inspired that your voice, your point of view?
I think honestly what really inspired me was being the outcast, not having the voice, knowing that I wasn't the only one going through something like that, you know, whether it was my sexuality or just feeling like I never fit in. I never dressed like anyone, so I always stuck out, and I think that helped me a lot in my life to where I am today, because it kind of gave me a voice for those young people that are going through and experiencing the same things that I had to experience, you know. And back then we didn't really have anyone to look up to like that, you know. So now I kind of want to be that person for the people of, you know, the next generation, because I think that that's so important.
You're a tattoo artist, and a magnificent one, by the way, I might add. What inspired you to get into tattooing?
I actually fell into it randomly. I didn't want to have a corporate job, so I finally tried to figure out a way to be a painter without having to starve for it, or without having to like sell myself to kind of lose myself. But I kind of just got in randomly. And being a painter, just like it was a good way to just make money off of it and actually have people give me instant feedback.
How long had you been painting before?
I've been drawing since I was 4. I've probably been painting, picked up paints right around that time, but I've been seriously painting like right out of high school. So like my whole high school, I was just painting. That's what got me started, really. Actually having the courses and stuff like that, and then kind of going on my own. But I've always done art.
Are you from Texas, like originally?
Yeah, I'm from Galveston originally. I moved around because I was a dependent in the Air Force, so my aunt, I was living with her. I moved up to Maryland, near Baltimore, and then New York, and then I ended up coming back, even though I said I never would be back on the island, but here I am back in Galveston.
So, like, growing up, how was that? Like, because that's the South. Like, that's, you know, so being, you know, a black gay man, how has that community and culture been there?
The culture going into tattooing is a little bit better. It does have a high stigma on homosexuals and women. It's a white-dominated career path. Yeah. But, like, it's becoming more and more open. When I was young, at first I could not get my foot in the door for anything. So I tried for years, but it's so hard to get into already. So being gay and black, like a double negative, that's not flying. So it took me a long time to get my foot in the door. And then someone had to actually see my talent and actually want to sit there and talk to me, and I had to force them to I got a 4-hour tattoo while I was doing my interview. I'm like, I know how to make them talk to me. Pay them for their time.
Hey. So had you experienced like a moment of where, you know, just you for being, you know, black or gay or just any type of, you know, in your professional field or personally?
Well, personally, of course, you get that no matter what. I'm glad it happened because now I have even tougher skin. People can say whatever they want, basically. But within my career field, it's amazing. It's just like working at Walmart. You're going to see every type of different person you can come into contact with, and they all going to be attracted to you for some reason. But, like, so when I first got my foot in the door, the first guy that hired me, I'm not going to mention no names, but we kind of had our little chat heart to heart, but he was like, if he got mad at me, we'd be friends 1 second, and then he got mad if the N-word, I'm a faggot or something like that. And just quit, and then he wanted to be my friend again. I'm like, no, you can't cross that line and then try to hop back over. So, like, I ended up quitting. Then actually, I'm glad you brought that up. He told me I was never going to be shit. I'm not going to make it nowhere. And then he recently just sold his shop, so that's one more competitor off the island 6 years later that I don't have to worry about. And I'm glad it happened to him out of all people. That's the best one that could have happened to. But like you experienced that kind of hate. And then I've had clients come in that never seen me before. They just know my work. They come in, oh, I thought you were a girl. I'm like, it says Chuck Jones on my Instagram. Just from based off I am kind of effeminate. My art shows a little bit. But then you get the one guy, that same guy, he was saying like, okay, well, he didn't want his wife to be tattooed by a man. Okay, I understand, but go find a woman tattoo artist or do more research so you're well informed before you get all the way here and waste my time and yours. But like, it's weird how people, it's their skin. At the end of the day, they get to choose who they want to be tattooed by. If you don't feel comfortable with black, if you don't feel comfortable with gay or weird, guess what? You can go to anybody in the world. And I'm still be okay and sleep like a baby.
Exactly. So, with Maryland being where you grew up and having so much of your history there, how would you say the community is for black gay men?
It's actually pretty good here. Well, because you have to loop it in. It's considered the DMV.
Yeah.
So the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So the men of color here, or even just the gay community, it's really strong. There are some messy individuals here and there, but that's with every community.
There always are, yeah.
The sense of community here is very strong. We have a lot of organizations that bring us together every week for free events or really, really affordable events for everyone to be able to get there and participate. And they do game nights, they have workout sessions, they have clubs and giant parties, brunches, and all sorts of things. So it's a really good, strong community here. It's just those troublesome people. Very few, but
there's always a few messy ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, have you ever had one of those experiences of racism or homophobia in like your adult life?
I've had a few. The most memorable one would have to be when I was going to shop with my sister. At the time, I had a messenger bag because, sometimes you carry too much stuff in your pockets and it gets uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So I started carrying a messenger bag with me because people would call it a man purse or whatever. It wasn't a purse. We went into a store, Foreman Mills, down the street from where I lived, and the security guard stopped me and tried to take my bag from me. So I'm like, why are you trying to take my bag? She was like, well, we don't know. She was a straight woman. She's like, well, we don't allow people to carry bags in the store. As my sister sashayed right across with her purse. So I'm like, well, why aren't you taking her purse or his backpack? Why are you taking my bag? She's like, oh, well, it's just something about a man carrying a purse that just rubs me the wrong way. So I need to take your bag. So that was probably the most memorable moment of homophobia that I've experienced. Any other time, everybody else in this area has been pretty cool because I have a bit of a reputation. So they know not to mess with me. One of those karate chops were seen.
There you go. As it should have been.
Yeah, it should have been. You deserved that one.
You talk about your upbringing. You talk about your background. Do you think that there is a particular issue with acceptance of LGBT people in the brown and black community?
Absolutely. I grew up in a Latino household. My mom's Puerto Rican. My dad's Puerto Rican as well, straight from Puerto Rico. And they always thought of the typical gay man to being flamboyant or someone that likes wearing women's clothing. And my parents didn't have a lot of acknowledgement of the LGBT community. So with that being said, it comes with lack of understanding. And of course, everybody has their own personal views on things. My dad was totally against it. My dad, at one point in time, he kind of shunned me away and stated, you're not my child anymore. But after a while and just experiencing and being able to tell them, you know, this is who I am, I'm still a man, and them seeing who I am as a man and having to respect me for what I do, it kind of changed their whole outlook on my sexuality. And now my mom is the biggest, excuse my language, fag hag, and my dad could actually kiss a transgendered female in her cheek and say she's beautiful. So I feel like we've come a long way since then. And I mean, I think that a lot of Latino households or African American households don't have the acknowledgement, and they have this perception in their mind of gay people. And of course, when they think gay, they think HIV. There's a stigma behind it, you know. So I think it's just so important as colored people to just make sure we voice, you know, what we feel and how we feel and who we are, because at the end of the day, you know, life is so short. Tomorrow's never promised. So why not live in our truths while we're living today?
How do you think being of the LGBT community plays within being Black? Do you think there's an issue with being accepted in the Black community?
I feel like if I jump to defend my brother or my sister, I just had a thing the other day, a guy on the street, he's like, look, you got this. He wanted to trade me a big bill for a small bill. Of course, it's a wino. I'm like, first of all, I don't know what that money is, real fake. Well, I just told him no, but he was like the first thing he said, oh, my brother. But at the end of the day, I know in the back of my head that the hetero Black male is probably going to like underthrow me. Just, it's not a talk about my household, but Black men are like really anti. It's just kind of weird, touchy subject, but like I kind of separate them basically. I know I'm Black, but at the end of the day, I know some of my Black fellows, they're not all open to like my sexuality at this time, but it's getting better at least within my lifetime.
That's good. So, with that and that being your upbringing, did you, and also being a poet, like you're an artist. So, with all those different type of identities placed upon you, did you ever feel the need to prove your masculinity?
Growing up, yes. Growing up, I tried to use the deep voice. I would try my best to, you know, be the boy, you know, but it just, I'm very different from the other ones, you know. So I hid my sexuality and my femininity for a very long time until I was kind of acceptance of myself, and I got to the point where I stated, you know, I just don't care anymore. I'm living for myself and my happiness. Whoever loves me is going to love me for who I am, not for what I do behind closed doors. So I just built the courage, and I'm happy I did, because, you know, there were times where I wanted to commit suicide, you know, so I could only imagine this generation growing up and not having, you know, an outlet, whether it's poetry or singing or music, you know, and they go down the wrong roads and they start using drugs and things like that. So if I can prevent that, then that's what I'm going to do.
Being someone hopefully that people are looking up to, because I think you would be an awesome example. And with the political climate as it is now, what would you say to the younger generations? How would we move forward?
I mean, I think the best way to move forward is to help one another, to uplift one another. You know, we live in a world where people can't even hold a door for the person walking behind them. I've always been the type of person, when a door opens for me of opportunity, I will hold the door for either my friend or someone that I know is as hungry as I am. And I think that that's so important. I think that we live today and people are only out for themselves, and they only care about themselves, and they're too focused on themselves, and they're not worrying about what's around them, you know. And in order for us to all move forward as a whole, we need to just help one another and unite as one, you know. It's a crazy world that we're living in, you know, with everything that's going on. And I think it's just so important to unite as one.
What was the biggest obstacle that you faced, you know, trying to make it on your own?
I honestly think it would be, I've always been a personal person. I never really like to post my personal relationships or my personal issues, you know. So me being able to actually write a poetry album or visual album and express so many things that I went through as a child that I never thought that I would even talk about, let alone with the world. I just feel like that's just amazing, you know, because I feel like I'm a survivor through it all.
So with your artistry, is that, because I know that's a difficult industry to kind of thrive in, you know, everyone is, you know, always claiming to be so creative, and they're always wanting to do things that are in the arts and entertainment industry. How difficult has it been to try to make your way into that? Is that what pays the bills for you now? Is that like a side thing?
It actually is what pays the bills for me. It is my main source of income currently. I had a side job, but after working for myself for 5 years, I don't like having a boss anymore, and I can't do it. Like, I tried to go back into retail, and then it's a complete disaster. But yeah, it's going very well now. A few years ago, let's say maybe 2, 3 years ago, was it was at its peak. I was living in Baltimore. I had an apartment that I was paying for myself. I had a car. I had a dog and a cat, all for my art.
Oh,
I was taking care of all of that by myself. And then I had an ex, and I had a downfall. Terrible. So bad to the point where I actually had to stop doing my portraits for, let's say, maybe 5 months. I couldn't work because I didn't have a place to work. I lost everything messing with him.
wow.
Then I met my best friend who allowed me to move in with him and gave me a space to work. And now I'm where I am today, here interviewing with you. So I can say it worked out in the end, but it has not been easy. It's just a labor of love. You gotta love what you do and stick to it. Because the second I slow down, it can fall off any second.
Wow, that's awesome. That's inspiring. It really is.
What would you say makes a great tattoo artist?
As long as you know you don't have to know your basics. You don't have to do it the right way. I started in my house tattooing my friends. Of course, a lot of people will tell you that is not the right way. But a good tattooer is true to themselves and true to their craft. So you got to give or take, but you got to just being good with people and being able to give them something that they want. As long as you can do that, and then in a sterile, sanitization way, or like just making sure your craft is up to par. You don't want to have like shaky lines. You want smooth, but it's a lot that dictates what a good and bad artists are. And it's also, when you think you're a good artist, it's like you can't be a perfect artist. You need to keep improving. It's something that can fall through any time, basically.
Did you take formal classes? Or do they offer formal
I
classes?
took art classes.
Oh,
They don't offer. You have to find an apprenticeship, and there are some gimmicks out there that are taking people's money. They're like, okay, we're going to teach you. Painters teaching tattoo artists is not the same. The paper does not move. These people, you can't treat them like a piece of paper or a canvas. And I hate when people call them canvases. These are people, and they basically the paper's going to sit still for you. A tattooing is very, very different. So it'll take me years to keep getting better, because every person that walks in the door, somebody can sit like a rock. Somebody, as soon as I draw that first line, they already over it. They over it, and they are going to give you exact. And people are different with their pain. And then some people, it's not even the pain or the tattoo, it's the personality. Some people are picky. Some people trust me they don't make any change. They just trust me full-heartedly, which is what I prefer. But also I have to give people what they want. So sometimes we just get people that want it exactly how they want it. And I can either turn it away or take it, but it's up to me, and hopefully they love me, because I wouldn't get tattooed by somebody that I clear the air with, or if I thought something was odd going on, I'll just walk out. Yeah. But you'd be surprised how many people still act crazy with a person tattooing them permanently.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm about that life. I really want to get a tattoo, but I'm afraid, like, if a needle comes near my skin, I might just karate chop somebody in the throat. Not even like on purpose, like just a natural reflex. So
yeah, and I've only been hit by someone's foot. But you have involuntary movements, but it wasn't like a kick in my face. It was like she was not paying attention. The next thing you know, I got like a little back of the foot in my cheek. But you have to be careful, because the body can have spasms. You don't know. Everybody's body, like some people pass out, some people shake, some people tremor. It just is what it is. I've never been full on hit, and if I ever will be, they're gonna get more than a tattoo from me, and they can't come back to the shop after that. But still, I'm like, hopefully, just don't hit me. I'm a big advocate on you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. It don't matter who you is or what your gender is or how old you is. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give you a baby. I'm going to pop your ass.
What is your ultimate goal with your poetry? Like, where do you want to see yourself go with this?
Well, it's crazy because I've never expected to even think that I would, have a single working on my book. I'm doing my visual album, and I'm, shooting videos and creative directing. I never in my life thought that I would be here today. So that's a blessing. I take each day by day as I go. I would love to be, an international speaker, a guest speaker, whether it be for HIV or any kind of disparity, whether it's substance use or homelessness, because I think it's so important to talk about that in the community. As for my poetry, I want to get to a point where my voice is heard at a greater rate. Currently I work a lot in my community and in the Northeast, but I kind of want to expand that because I have a story and I feel like my story is very relatable. And I feel like if people can hear that story, maybe they get the strength that I didn't get, because I honestly thought that I wasn't going to make it to where I am today, and hopefully my story will inspire someone to not go down that path.
What's next for you? Because I've seen you doing a little bit of like modeling. I've seen you, do a little bit of acting with what was it, boy drama and Willology.
Yeah. So, yes. I have no idea what's next. I'm just going with the flow. My portraits led me to modeling, which led me to acting. So, I have absolutely no idea. But just to put it out there, I'm also writing a book. I write poetry and songs. I like to sing. I'm shy as hell though, so there's probably no chance anybody's ever going to hear my music, but it's there.
It's there.
It's there. It exists.
There's a lot of things stacked against us. What do you think the key is for us to continue to survive and thrive in the U.S. and just in general?
Just doing the protest that every time period, every era had that thing where they had to protest. Eventually, it's getting more and more people on board, and now I feel like it's getting a little bit. Of course, we're having a little bumps in the road, but like going towards the progression, we could still be in shackles. Our grandparents from a certain time to now, a lot has improved, but it's not going to be a full plan. We got a long way to go. We might not see today, but it is getting better with social media and cameras on every street. Stuff is being brought into the light, and even people on the other side, or people that aren't black, that are seeing all these different issues going on camera. It's different when you can watch a video and you can have your own stigma from it. Of course, don't believe everything you see, but it lets you see, it lets you open your mind, do research, and lets more people become aware because information is more accessible than it has ever been, especially for a black person.
So, with the police brutality, with everything that's been happening with LGBT rights and the horrible Pulse Orlando shooting last year, are there any last words that you would say to the younger LGBT community of color who may feel like uneasy?
I would just say, stick up for one another. If you see someone getting bullied, stand up for them. If someone needs help and you're able to help them, help them. I think it's so important that we all try to help each other. This LGBT community and people of color are always in a battle with each other, and it's like a competition. And I feel like when we all look at each other as one, we can all advance in life. So just unite with one another, help each other out, and just, try to inspire each other to be greatness,
That's the word. That's you better preach. And I uplift you because you are nothing but a brilliant talent. So, and I thank you for meeting with me. I appreciate it so much.